What's up, guys? Welcome back to Nintendo Memories, and today we're going to be talking about something that's pretty big in discussion right now, and that is, why was Breath of the Wild 2 truly pushed into 2023? Some people have jumped to the conclusion that Breath of the Wild 2 was pushed because the Switch can't handle it, that it needs a more powerful Switch, and that Nintendo pushed it simply because they plan to release a Switch revision, and a much more powerful Switch alongside Breath of the Wild 2. But I really don't think that's the reason. So let's get into it. The reason why I truly think that Breath of the Wild 2 was pushed in 2023, we first have to look at the development size of the team that's working on this game. There was an interview that Eiji Aonuma and Shigeru Miyamoto did regarding the first Breath of the Wild, and they said they started with about 20 to 30 people, and then they eventually grew to 100 people, and then it grew to 200 people, and then it grew to 300 people. So you have a development team that is 300 plus people working on the first Breath of the Wild, and I would imagine that that team has only grown when it comes to the sequel to this game. So then we have to look at what the gaming industry has been impacted by the past couple years, and that is the COVID situation. Everybody was forced to work from home, and we all remember the year that was 2020. There was only a small amount of Nintendo games that were released in 2020. We had Super Mario 3D All-Stars, we had Paper Mario The Origami King, and we had Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity, and we had Pikmin 3 Deluxe. Those were the only big Nintendo games that released in 2020. And I had the wonderful opportunity to speak to Kit and Krista from Nintendo Minute, and they shared some interesting things regarding Breath of the Wild 2's development during the times when it was hit by COVID, and this is what they had to say.
But I don't think we were surprised at all, because it seems like such a huge game, and when we were still at Nintendo, the development team they were still working like pretty intensely on it, and it was like they like had made these, like they would make these sort of like generic side comments like, oh, you're gonna have to wait a little longer, like kind of stuff like that, and we're like, what does that mean?
Every time Aonuma shows up, it's wait a little longer.
Yeah, and he was saying that to us too.
Please understand.
Please understand. Well, it'd be worth it, But you can just tell that like they might need some more time, and the pandemic was tough too. Like everyone had to like redo their whole work thing, and I think that might have had something to do with it as well. But
imagine that huge development. Imagine having such a huge development team and then having to have everybody work from home.
Yeah. I heard there was some interesting things with Nintendo and the technology. Like they didn't have anything on there was no cloud, so everyone had to like literally move their like giant desktop coding like development computers home and then move it back to the office, and it was like a nightmare basically. So that doesn't seem very modern, but like don't unplug it while you're coding something. But yeah.
So you have a team of 300 plus people, and they had to bring all of their stuff, their coding development computers, home. You got 300 plus people spread throughout Japan, working on different sections of the game, having to communicate, having to make sure that this part works with this part doesn't work. I mean, you have to, and I would imagine that all of this stuff had to be the kinks had to be worked out in the first couple months of this all going on. So there's a good chance, guys, that the first couple months of COVID in 2020, development on Breath of the Wild 2 completely shut down. I truly believe that that's what happened. We talk about how Breath of the Wild 2 has been in development for such a long time. I truly believe that for a good 3 to 4, maybe even 5 months of 2020, Breath of the Wild 2's development was shut down. I really do believe that. To me, it now makes a lot of sense why Aonuma said in 2021 that they were aiming for a 2022 release date, because it sounds like even in 2021 they were still being impacted by the effects of COVID, and there were probably still pieces of their team that had to work from home, and that's challenging when you've got 300 plus people all working on different aspects of the game. You got people working on the dungeon design, people working on the overworld, people working on the bosses, people working on the enemies and that you're going to face, people working on the outfits. I know there's people that just worked on the horses and that you find in Breath of the Wild. So you have all that and all these teams are just now spread out. And I would imagine that is the real reason why this game was pushed. I don't think it has to do with a Switch Pro. I don't think it has anything to do with that. I think it has strictly to do with the fact that they were set back really hard when they were hit by this pandemic. And just like a lot of games were, you know, a lot of games were pushed. It wasn't just games from Nintendo, it was games from Xbox, it was games from PlayStation. Lots of games were pushed because of the pandemic. And I do believe now that this game is expected to hit in 2023. I really do think. I think that, you know, that development update that we got from Aonuma back in March suggests that the fact that they specified it for spring tells me that they plan to hit it by then. And so if it gets delayed again, I think if it gets delayed one more time, I think that'll be the last delay. But I don't think it's getting delayed anymore. I think it is safe to expect that this game will arrive in spring next year, and that they're almost done with it. That new footage that we got, that 2 seconds of new footage that we got in that March update was really cool. It teases the fact that this game is very far in development, and plus we had that leak from that Italian voice actor of Daruk that he's going to be playing not only Daruk but also the ancestor of Daruk. So voice work is already being done, and that means that the game is very far along in development and that it's got to be in the final stages now. So anyway, what do you guys think? Do you guys think that it's still being pushed because of a Switch Pro, or do you guys agree with me that this was all mainly because of the pandemic and that they're still reeling from that? So anyway, hope you guys have enjoyed this video. If you have, please drop a like and please subscribe, and I will catch you guys in the next video. See you guys later.